Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Perry Bush with us from Bluffton University. We're talking about some goings-on in Washington. Obviously, for months and months, we've talked about the infrastructure bill. Yeah. And we were talking before we came on, I think you have a strategy in mind if you're President Biden. I'm going to start with this figure, knowing I'm probably going to have to pare it down to a certain figure. Right?
I mean, he ran on the deal maker. He said, I know D.C. and I know the Senate. In fact, he had more experience in the Senate than any president had since Lyndon Johnson. And that was part of his pitch to the American people. I can get the deal done. And I think you're right. And the word is from D.C., from what I'm watching, is that he's deeply involved now in these negotiations. And he better be, because the Democrats, it's their time to shine. They better deliver, or the country's going to hold them responsible next fall in the midterm elections. And they know it, and they've got to deliver these bills. And I think they'll get it done, Jeff. But it's tight. It's a high-wire act right now.
You get through that, and that was one of the big platforms he ran on, was this infrastructure, and also the bill talking about social issues and climate change and that kind of thing. As you said, if you get through this whole thing and nothing happens on it, that's a stain,
That's
right?
bad news.
Yeah.
It's bad news for them. They may hurt him in the gubernatorial race in Virginia, in a couple of weeks. The infrastructure bill is ready to go. I mean, here's how I guess it's shaken down. And that's got a lot of bipartisan support. It's rebuilding broadband, it's roads, bridges, water pipes. There's a lot of public support for that. And he's got a lot of Republican support for that. And that he could sign that now if the left will go along. But the Democratic left is saying we're not going to sign on to that until we pass this other bill first, his big Build Back Better bill, which is his signature kind of social policy bill of child care subsidies, mandated family leave, affordable housing, increase in monthly benefits. It would, the analysts suggest it would do a lot to raise people out of poverty. And the left is saying that is that's what we're about. And we're not going to vote for infrastructure until this gets done. But yet, the Democratic Party is a wide-ranging coalition. He's got some conservative Democrats in the Senate. I mean, it's a 50-50 divided Senate. What did the president say yesterday in this town meeting in Baltimore? He says when you got a 50-50 Senate, every one of those senators is president. Right? And particularly Senator Manchin of West Virginia, Senator Sinema of Arizona are saying, we're not going to vote for this, unless you make these concessions. And Biden is now dealing. And apparently, it's hard for him at home because his wife's a community college professor. But he's dropped the free community college thing. And Sinema is demanding that Biden drop his effort to pay for this with a corporate tax increase, and he's caved in on that. And they've scaled back, like you said, scaled back the cost of this thing. And my sense is they will get it done, right? But every time he moves towards satisfying the conservatives, the left, the progressives, are unhappy. And it's this delicate dance.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the tax increase. Last night at the town hall, I think initially there was this, I don't want to say a guarantee, but he said, we're not going to be raising taxes. There are other ways to pay for it. Last night he said, we're not going to raise, I'm going to do my best to make sure that we don't raise taxes on anybody making under $400,000. And I think Sinema, she immediately spoke out about that. Did that hurt him in that process, or is he just being honest?
I think he's being honest. I agree with him. There's no way that that you could give any tax increase to what appears to be the middle class. There's no way. They would be political suicide. Republicans run all over that. Biden would like to undo some of the Trump corporate tax cuts. And for all these people who are screaming about deficits now, I didn't hear a lot of that worry when Trump dropped the corporate tax rate. I mean, they weren't concerned about deficits. And so the Democrats are saying, well, the corporations and the very wealthy can pay for more of this. I mean, they're doing really well right now, in spite of the pandemic. But yet, Sinema said that's a non-starter, and Biden is apparently, he's got to keep her on board. If any one of them jumps ship, it's not going to happen. So we'll see.
Poll numbers, do you think, have changed then on both of these issues over time?
Well, Jeff, it's interesting what's happening in the polls. I mean, a year ago, when you asked the public, you've got my data right in front of me, should government do more to solve the nation's problems? 54% of the nation said, yeah, there's one Gallup poll. And the poll came out this last week, showed that percentage is now 43%. So, these politicians are watching the polls, and Biden's watching the polls, and there apparently is a lot less support than there used to be for this broad package of poverty reduction. On the other hand, Democrats saying, if we run for re-election next fall and we have done nothing, we're going to get hammered. And in fact, if we deliver tangible results, particularly in poverty reduction, and we are a wealthy enough nation, the economy is booming, right, that we can afford to do this, right? That will recruit to our benefit. And plus, some of them are saying it's simply the right thing to do. We're a wealthy enough country, and we shouldn't have this level of people in poverty, right, and struggling with these kind of resources. So that's what's happening.
A lot of wheels in motion, as always, in Washington. Well, thank you for telling us about it. We appreciate it.
It's always good to be here, Jeff. Thank you.
Get your perspective on that. We'll be back right after this.